Is my screen visible?
Not yet. Yes, now we can see your screen. Yeah, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Sure. Please rejoin the meeting.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
And now I think the screen is visible now.
Yes.
Okay. So my name is Tiham Siddiqui.
Damn, your voice is breaking. We can't hear you.
Application architect. I'm working as a Salesforce consultant and ISV developer. Okay.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So my name is Tiham Siddiqui, and I am 7 times Salesforce certified application architect, working as a Salesforce consultant and ISV developer at Cloud Junction. And I'm also leading the Trailblazer admin group Karachi. So moving forward, I would like to ask question: how many of you are working as a developer, Salesforce developer here?
I'm working as a developer.
Abdullah, yes, okay. Javed, okay. So moving forward, we are going to talk about the Apex best practices. What is Apex? Why are the Apex best practices important? What are the best Apex practices? And then we have some best practices that we're going to talk about, and then we can have a QA session. So what is Apex? Apex is a strongly typed object oriented programming language that Salesforce platform uses to manipulate the data or to control the transaction statements and to make API callouts in Salesforce. Why are Apex best practices important? So these are the best practices will help you write efficient code that you can maintain and can be scalable, and that will help you to avoid common errors or pitfalls. What are the best practices? There are some of the common best practices that we can use in our coding skills or in our code, and that are code structure, how we or how you can structure your code or organize it. And there are some of the governor limits that's shared by the epic the Salesforce. Then we have how you can use the or how can make your code bulkify, how you can handle the errors, which is most important thing. And then we have security considerations. So code structure and organization. Whenever you're trying to code, I will recommend you to go for the modular approach. It will help you write write code that is easier to understand, maintain, and test. And it also can be reusable. Use proper naming conventions. So, for example, if there is a method that is updating a record, name it update record for clarity. Document your code thoroughly. So, so if you have 100 lines of code, 100 lines of code, and if you add comments to the code, it will be easier for the other developers to understand what you are trying to do with these methods that you have written in the code. So, for example, here you can see uh, that I have added the comments at the top of the code, that who is the author, what this class is doing, so the description, the created date, last modified by, and last modified date. So it is easier for the author or for the other developers to understand what this class is doing, who wrote this class, and when this class was written by. uh, and you can see that the best practice that I'm trying to use here is one trigger on one object. So I'm using all the contexts in this trigger, and I'm using trigger dot is before and trigger dot is after. And I'm using trigger dot is insert, trigger dot is update, trigger dot is delete. And this will help me to add different business logics in one single trigger. Instead of adding the business logic in the trigger, I have created a handle class that all my business logic is in that class, and I'm referring it into each statement. So here you can see account trigger handler dot handle for handle before insert, or handle before update. So this is one of the best practices that you use in triggers. Instead of writing business logic in the apex trigger, write it in the handler class and use it in your triggers. And I've also added some comments like checking the context if it is before, checking if if the context is before insert, before update, or before delete, or is after. So governor limits. So Salesforce provide governor limits because it is a shared resource, and using these governor limits, you can write a robust code. And so, for example, a query can return us a maximum of 50,000 records. Staying within the limits will optimize the performance of your code. And if you have a large data set that you want to process, you can use batch processing or queuables. What will happen if you exceed the limits? It will affect your performance, and can occur some issues like too many sockle queries. So some of the types of governor limits are pre-transaction apex limits, lightning platform apex limits, static apex limits, size specific apex limits, and there are some other emails limits, push notification limits, and there are furthermore. So some of the limits that I have added in this presentation, uh, the total number you can use in per transaction for synchronize epochs, and the limits are different for the synchronous limit and asynchronous limits. So in synchronous limit you can have up to 100 sockets per transaction, and for asynchronous you can have up to 200 socket queries. And similarly there are lots of governor limits that you can use. So for example, here you can see that the number of callouts, the heap size limit, the number of dml statements that you can use in apex. Bulk processing is very important. So let's assume you have a trigger that is written on the opportunity, and you are not using the the bulkification in your apex trigger, and assume that thousands of records are updated using data loader or inserted using data loader, then your code will not be able to cater each record if it is not bulkified. So here you can see that there is a for loop iterating over the trigger.new, and it's creating a new account. It is creating a new account or adding a new updating a account and adding into a list. And can anyone tell me what is wrong with this code? It is related to the governor limits. So Idrisia, you are almost there, but I'm looking for a specific answer. So Idrisia, what will happen if yes, Javed, you are right. DML operating inside loop. So this is wrong. How it should look like this. The DML should be out of your for loop. So assume if there are 200 records or thousands of records that you are using that uploaded using the data loader, and what will happen? It will give you an exception or maybe roll out the other updated records as well. So because we have we have a limit on DML statements that we can use, so each time the DML is executing for each record, and if it is up to 200 or thousands of records, then it will crash the code. So this is the right way to use the DML. Add each record in a list and then update the list instead of updating or inserting each record. Error handling. So this is the one of the most important uh, practice that I recommend. Handle your exceptions gracefully and try to write code, robust code. And you can see that I am using the try and catch statement in line number 15. uh, I'm trying to update the list of the accounts, and you see if there is any error, then the exception will be thrown instead of crashing the code. And I can, instead of just using the system.debug, I can also create some record in the Salesforce, in the logs object or any other object, and I can later I can debug the error instead of and before that, on line number 14, if you see, I'm also checking if the list is, if the list size is zero, or you can check if the list is not empty. So assume in this case, in this case if the accounts to update list is empty, what will happen? It will show, it will throw an error that the list is empty or something related to this. But if you use if a statement or check before updating the list, that if the list is not empty or the size of the list is more than 0, then go for the update. And what try and catch is doing is that if there is any error in updating the list, then it will catch the error and it will show you that what's the error instead of crashing the code. Security considerations. So secure your code practices by using the add sharing keyword in your Apex classes to enforce record level security. So this will help you if the code is running in a user context and the user doesn't have the access to the record, it will not execute for the user. By default, the Apex classes are set on without sharing. So if you don't use with sharing keyword, uh, it will not restrict the Apex class to execute for the user. If the user doesn't have the access or have the access, it doesn't matter for the class. uh, and it will execute for the user. Handle exceptions. Okay, so there's some mistake in this, and you can see that the 4-line code that is written in the try and catch, you can see that in the socle there's a keyword security enforced that will help you with the field level security. So if a user doesn't have the access to a particular field that you are trying to get. So for example, in this we have select name and phone from account with security enforce. If the class is executing in a user context, and if the user doesn't have the access to name or phone or any of these fields, this will this will show the error that you don't have access to all of the account fields. That's what I have added in the exception message. But we can use the e.get message to get a proper error, that which fields access doesn't have, user doesn't have. So some of the useful resources that I see that are important for you guys. Trailhead, there's a module, improve your Apex code, that you can go through. And some of the official Salesforce documentation for the governor limits, the execution of governors and limits, and Apex governor limits. So that's all from my side. And if anyone have any questions, we can move forward with.
So thank you, Tian. Let's move to the Q&A part. So if anyone has any question, please write in the chat box in the Q&A section so that we can read your question and can answer your question. Yeah. Well, it was a nice session, Tian.
Thank you. I hope this session must be useful as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Abdullah. Shayan. If by default Apex class runs in system context, then is there any specific reason why we mention without sharing? No, you don't have to mention without sharing in the Apex class. It is by default, it is running in the without sharing context. So it's just if you want to run, if you want your code to execute in a to to use the system or sharing settings and check if the user has this access to the record, so you can use, so then it is necessary for you to use with sharing in your Apex class. I hope that's the answer. Okay, thank you.
Tian, there's a question from Javed. He is asking you to open the governor limits, right?
Okay.
Yes, Javed. Could you please ask your question now?
So if you just want to see the governor limits, then you can go to the, okay. So I've already shared the link of this article officially by Salesforce that.
Tian, we can't hear you. Hello, Tian. We can't hear you.
uh I think Rimsha is going to upload the recording on YouTube,
Yeah. I
and
will,
you can,
I will share the
y-
link. I will share the link
yes.
of the YouTube video on the LinkedIn or with the Salesforce community on WhatsApp as well.
So Rimsha, I think we are good to go. And if there is any questions, you can ask now, or we can wrap up the session.
I think we should wrap up the session because there's no more questions from anyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining this session. I hope this must be useful for you. Uh, and you can ask me questions. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can email me. And yes, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining over the weekend. And yeah, thank you for the kind words. And you can join me or reach out to me on LinkedIn or on the WhatsApp. So, or you can share your ideas and topics for the next session as well. So, thank you so much. Have a nice day. Thank you. So, this is Tiham LinkedIn. You guys can approach him on LinkedIn as well.